It was 678 days ago that the Prime Minister and I stood in this courtyard and announced a $17.6 billion stimulus package for Australian households and businesses at the start of the pandemic. Little did we know then what we know now. 2 years of hardship, Australians subject to curfews and lockdowns, and families and friends separated for extended periods of time. But what we do know is that over the last 2 years, Australians have pulled together, and that the Morrison government has pulled out all stops to help Australians get through this pandemic. There are enormous challenges right now. Our hospital system is under great pressure, and our thoughts are with those selfless and professional healthcare workers who do an amazing job on the front line, and those Australians who are in hospital right now with COVID, and dare I say it, those who are in ICU or on ventilators as well. Our supply chains are under pressure as high levels of absenteeism goes through the economy as the Omicron variant has spread. But I can tell you that the fundamentals of the Australian economy are strong, and that what we have seen over the last 2 years is that the Australian economy has bounced back. It's been resilient. Take jobs. Our unemployment rate today is at 4.6%. This is around a 13-year low. Job ads are more than 30% higher than at the start of the pandemic. As the Prime Minister said, our wage subsidy for apprentices is seeing a record number of people in a trade apprentice today, 220,000 Australians. JobKeeper saved the economy and more than 700,000 jobs. And the projections in MYEFO and from independent economists and the Reserve Bank is for the unemployment rate to continue to come down from here, even despite the challenges that we face. With respect to business investment, there's $200 billion of non-mining business investment that is planned over the coming year. And the business investment incentives that we've put in successive budgets have helped achieve that outcome despite this recession. Housing investment. Last year, there were 150,000 building approvals off the back of programs like Home Builder. That's more than 30% higher than the last 5-year average. Australia has maintained its AAA credit rating, one of only 9 countries in the world to do so from the 3 leading credit rating agencies, despite all these economic problems and challenges that we've faced. And we know that Australians have accumulated $360 billion on balance sheets, both households and business, as a result of record economic support from the federal government and indeed state governments, and through unprecedented tax cuts that is providing more money and disposable income, rewarding effort and encouraging aspiration. So there is good reason to be confident and resilient about our economy. Now, the Prime Minister referenced the challenges that we face with respect to supply chains. In recent days, I was with Coles workers at a distribution centre in Laverton. 600 workers, many have been absent, but they were working hard to ensure that the food made its way to the supermarkets and then to people's kitchens. And they said the changes that the Prime Minister led through National Cabinet have made a real difference to their ability for their operations to keep going. Yesterday, the Assistant Treasurer and I were at Cameron Trucking Business, a family-owned business nearly 50 years strong that has nearly 1,000 workers. And again, it said that those changes that we had made through the isolation requirements, through National Cabinet, had made a real difference on the ground to allow that trucking business to keep going. So it's changes around isolation that have made a real difference. It's changes to the visa requirements and the working requirements of people on visas that is going to make a real difference. Today, we're opening up an opportunity for 175,000 more students and working holiday makers to come to Australia. We're putting out the welcome mat to 175,000 students and working holiday makers to come to Australia and to take up this opportunity by ensuring that they get rebated that visa application charge. The Prime Minister is working through the National Cabinet on a schools plan to ensure that our schools open at the start of term 1 and stay open. And that's going to be critical for the workforce as well. We're rolling out the booster shots in record numbers. And of course, we're getting the vaccines to young Australians to ensure that they also have this line of defence. Finally, Australia's performance through this pandemic, as the Prime Minister has said, has not been perfect, but nobody's response has been perfect. But we are in a very, very strong position relative to the rest of the world, given that we've faced a once-in-a-century pandemic and the biggest economic shock since the Great Depression. The fatality rate in the United States per head of population has been 24 times that of Australia. The fatality rate in the United Kingdom from COVID has been 21 times that of Australia, and Australia's output in terms of both GDP and employment outcomes has been better than any major advanced economy across the rest of the world.